Hello, Namaskar viewers. I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's The Business Talk with AJ right here on ITV Gold. As you know by now, this show brings you all the latest that you need to know from the world of business. The show is brought to you by Sai CPA Services, a complete professional accounting firm located in the state of New Jersey, multiple locations, but they can be reached by one phone call 908-380-6876. You can just give them a call and set up an appointment in person over Zoom or in Facebook, anything over the phone. It all can be done, and their experienced and knowledgeable staff, including CPAs and accountants, will help you whether it's a personal tax matter or a professional tax matter. And remember, they always say no question is a silly question. So any question you have related to your personal taxes, or even if you have a business related question when it comes to accounting, payroll services, virtual CFO or CEO services, Sai CPA Services can assist you in all of those aspects. And that's why Sai CPA Services happens to be the most reliable CPA firm here in the state of New Jersey. And with that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. AJ Kumar of Sai CPA Services. Good to have you once again.
Thank you, Sanjeevji. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Sure, thank you. You're very welcome. Now, as we are getting ready into holiday season, and both kinds of holiday season, we're going to have our own festive season. Navratri is on the way, and then Diwali is going to follow, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas and everything is going to follow. During this time when layoff occur, obviously it hurts. It definitely hurts. And I'm talking about chip maker Qualcomm, based in California. They announced that they will be laying off about 1,200 employees just in time of these holidays and the last quarter of the year 2023. Now, according to the CFO of Qualcomm, Akash Palkhiwala, according to him, the reason they are doing it because they're cutting down the cost. Even though they have contracts with Apple and the Meta Quest and everything else, but they're cutting down the cost. Only then their profit will increase, and that's one of the reasons. AJ. To cut down the cost has been a main concern for Fortune 500 companies or any companies this year because of rising cost.
Absolutely. And a lot of companies like Qualcomm, which is a public company, huge company, they use these type of things as an opportunity to lay off some of the staff so they can rehire the good staff, the better staff. It's part of their strategy as well. But Qualcomm has been expecting lower revenue, and that's why they are trying to curb some of the cost. Akash, the CFO over there, has clearly indicated it's an effort to curb the cost down in anticipation of the lower revenue, so they can meet the bottom line, so they can still have the same EBITDA, same profits that they have been promising to their shareholders. But as you rightly said, the timing of these layoffs is really tricky. And as you know, a lot of Indian, South Asians works with Qualcomm.
Yes.
So when you have during the holiday season, the Christmas, Thanksgiving, Diwali, the Shara season, a lot of these things really put a damper on the whole family.
It's not a good news anyway. Even though Qualcomm and Akash Palkhiwala, CFO, did say that they have an order with Apple to provide 5G chips till through year 2026, and they are also major supplier to Meta Quest 3 that I'm talking about now. What I find it kind of interesting is that earlier this year, President Joe Biden announced that government will fund those companies who wants to start chip making facilities or factories in the USA, and government has allocated $39 billion to those who wants to start chip making factories. And this is actually happened, and Joe Biden had promised during his presidential campaign, because during COVID, if you remember, AJ, we all were stuck because Taiwan is the largest semiconductor chip maker, and because of COVID, when shipments were not going anywhere else, there were no cars being sold, there were a lot of other things on hold because they didn't have chips. And that's when US government and the President Joe Biden announced that we should have a chip making facilities here in the USA, and it's expensive, of course, but government is willing to fund them. So here in one case, government is willing to fund those chip making facilities, and they have earmarked $39 billion. And here is a chip maker, a US company lays off 1,200 employees.
Again, it could be part of the strategy in general. 1,200 is a lot of number. I mean, one person is too much. But if you look at the total strength of Qualcomm, 1,200 is not a huge number. And this $39 billion that Mr. President promised in incentives to open up the domestic chip making facility is a multi-year project by itself, and a lot of companies like IBM and a lot of bigger companies are trying to create alliances, trying to create mergers and acquisition type of situation where they can either acquire a local chip manufacturing company or have a partnership so they can qualify for that type of money.
Exactly. Now, let's move on to the next story. How many of us really like to go to dollar store? Of course, you go to dollar store because you think you're going to save money, but there are hardly any items which cost dollar. But your mindset is such that when you go to dollar store, you're going to save lots of money. Dollar General is in the news because Dollar General, this very, very popular chain, obviously been struggling because their revenue is down and everything. So what they have done is that, sometimes your old employees can be much better than recruiting new employees. So they have reinstated their CEO, Todd Vezos, replacing Jeff Owen, because apparently Jeff Owen has not been able to control the cost and everything else. So, and Jeff Bezos previously served in the role for 7 years before he retired in 2020-22. So now the replacement becomes effective immediately, and Jeff Owen was the CEO for less than 1 year. So they are bringing out Bezos out of retirement in order to have cost control thing worked out very well, so Dollar General can post a profit.
Absolutely. So even though it's Dollar General, the cost of doing business in Dollar General is very high, meaning when you are selling something for $1, $2, $5, even though not everything is for $1, their margins are limited. They have to sell a lot of items to pay the rent, to pay the salaries. So the margins are very thin. So a small decision can go a long way. So they are bringing back their prior CEO to change the condition, to change the strategy where the business is going. Dollar General is a huge company, it's a publicly listed company, and they have been known for a lot of dollar stores, which are really not a dollar store because a lot of items are more than $1, but they have been known for dollar stores in the market.
Absolutely. And while we are on a CEO matter, let me bring this business story. Of course, supply chain management company called Flexport. Flexport announced that they are going to be laying off 20% of its workforce. Just 1 month after a chaotic CEO shakeup in the company. All right, and that didn't go very well. So in memo to the employees, the Flexport CEO Ryan Peterson said that, and its founders said the company's decision to cut staff was made to help return Flexport to profitability without raising prices.
Absolutely. So it's a change in the strategy. When a new CEO comes, they're changing the strategy as how they do things, what they do, and how they do. So in order to achieve that, they have to let go some of the people and probably hire. If they're letting go 20% people, is soon enough, in 3 to 6 months, they will have to hire a lot of new people as well. But the idea is you let go the people who are not fitting in your new strategy and then hire the new staff with the right qualification, with the strategy that you have in mind.
There you go. All right. So now, of course, it's a business talk with AJ show, right? So we talk about business stories. And if we don't talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, the cryptocurrency's one-time king under FTX banner, his trial is going on right now. And if we don't talk about that, our show will be incomplete. AJ, I tell you, this trial going on and all the details which is coming out, this gentleman, Sam Bankman-Fried, had some kind of ego because he said to his co-workers and everybody that he can get away with anything and everything. He even told his ex-girlfriend and a business partner that one day he could become president of the United States of America. And as you know, that he was donating very heavily to the Democratic Party candidates.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have seen it happening in this country earlier. If Trump can be the president, a business person, why can't Sam Friedman? And if you are at his age, having $1 billion, the total net worth, you could get away with anything. And it changes the attitude, it changes the thought process, it changes the way you see the world. So I'm not putting him at fault. The amount of money, the kind of net worth he was carrying at one point at least was just humongous.
Just humongous. And knowingly he directed his business partner, right, and then through company Alameda and others to engage in a multi-billion-dollar fraud over several years. Knowingly he did it. Now all this, dirty laundry which is coming out during this trial, it's unimaginable that
You're
this
right.
guy, made billions of dollars, right? But because of his attitude and he can't be touched, he misdirected, mishandled, misbehaved, whatever you call that, and he got into this fraud thing.
No, you're right, 100%. So that dirty laundry that we see now was a business strategy
Yes.
couple of years ago. As long as it was working, it was seen intentionally done. Now we see he did certain things that were not kosher, that were not supposed to be done. They were playing with the investors' money. But now, knowing what we know, this is not the way it should have been done.
That's right. It should have been. And this trial is getting very interesting as we go along in the coming weeks. We'll continue to give you updates. I think trial is expected to last about 6 weeks. But with that note, our break is not expected to last more than a couple of minutes. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we got more interesting stories for you. Stay with us. Welcome back to the second half of the Business Talk with AJ. In this show, we bring you latest that you need to know from the world of business. Unfortunately, we only got stories of layoffs and cost cuttings and replacing CEOs. By the way, AJ hasn't gotten any offer for CEO of any Fortune 500 company. Not that he's expecting it because he's so busy, progressing Science CPS services nationwide. So he's busy. But I'm waiting for an offer. Nothing has come in yet. So let's see what happens. But first of all, let's welcome AJ of Science CPS Services.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sanjay.
Science CPS Services is a complete accounting firm founded by Mr. AJ Kumar with over 25 years of experience when it comes to accounting, management, taxes, and everything. And Science CPS Services can help you with your personal or corporate taxes. Believe me, just reach out to them for any question that you may have. This is the time to evaluate your earnings for the year. Where do you want to save money? Where do you want to invest the money in order to save taxes? And remember one thing, to do your taxes right. That's the Science CPS Services for you. 908-380-6876 is the phone number. ScienceCPSServices.com is the website. As I was saying that I'm always available to hear an offer about a CEO job. I would definitely consider and see what happens, right? But before that, let's just talk about CEO's lifestyle.
Absolutely.
All right. So one CEO which is really, really popular in the world, right? And the company that he works for, that company's products is worldwide phenomenal. Okay. This company is worth $1 trillion. All right. The first company became worth $1 trillion, and that is Apple.
Absolutely.
All right. So talk about Apple's, in a business talk, we talk about business stories, but let's talk about somebody, how they do their business and how do they live their lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So Tim Cook, right? Tim Cook, who heads Apple, and he travels all over the world and everything, right? So it takes a lot for a person to manage business like this. So what happens is that, when you run a world's largest company, obviously you sacrifice a lot of things.
Of course.
He gets up at 3:45 a.m. in the morning, and obviously he says that he goes through the emails that it's received. He receives about 700 to 800 emails per day. Not that he reads every email, but he goes through them, and all the important emails he makes a note of it. And also he messages to his staff, the executives, right? And then he expects an answer before the sunrise.
Absolutely. So this is the business model.
Yes.
This is how he runs the business.
Correct.
Wake up early.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody is assigned what they are supposed to be doing, and everybody is responsible to respond back to you as
Right.
this is done or this is what they need to make it happen.
Correct.
This is
And
700
once he's at the office, all day he runs long meetings. In the meetings, right, he's having energy bars, all
Yep.
right? He's having his only energy bars in the meetings, and his meetings are very long because he talks to each and every single attendees. and he asks them a question, and until you answer the question, he patiently looks at you and waits for you to complete an answer.
I think it's a great business strategy, and we say it's great because he's running the world's biggest company. He's the CEO. We are talking about Tim Cook here, and he wakes up early, does what he needs to do, takes care of 700, 800 emails every day. Again, as Sanjeev said, he doesn't have to read every single thing. But in some
he
cases,
reads the most important
he has
one.
to
He makes
forward
it a point, exactly.
Absolutely. In some cases, he forwards the email to the right
Yes.
department.
Yes.
In some cases, he's giving his feedback. In some cases, probably he's just deleting the emails.
This is really interesting about his lifestyle. Okay, he said in one of the interviews that, listen, I can control the morning. Okay, it's easy to control the morning because you are on your own. It's quiet, and then you can work on it because things happen through the day that kind of blow you off. Of course, because how many of us makes a note things to do today, right? And these are the things that I want to do today. Most of us not even reach halfway through, and then page completes with the next day's things to do and completes because obviously you're distracted during the daytime.
Well, you can't control the day. And it's Tim Cook, you, me, calls will come, things will fall through, a lot of things will happen, clients are crying, something happen, and that needs your immediate attention. And that's why the theory goes, eat the frog first thing in the morning. Whatever your most difficult thing is, whatever you want to achieve, that you must achieve, get it done in the morning.
Yeah.
Before things go haywire, before things go out of control, get it done first thing in the morning.
That's right. So he loves, and I'm a morning person too. I can definitely relate to it. It's a perfect time to work. Then Tim Cook, he normally has lunch with his employees in the cafeteria.
Yes, absolutely.
Steve Jobs never did that. Steve Jobs never mingled with the employees, but Tim Cook loves to spend time with employees, and when he's in cafeteria having lunch with employees, it's all casual.
Yes.
No business conversation.
Absolutely.
And what Steve Jobs would do, he would have lunch with the designer. This all Apple product designer. Why they become successful? The credit goes to the engineer and the designer, Jonathan Ive.
So Steve Jobs was infamous
Yes.
about having lunches with Jonathan only.
Yes.
On the other hand, Tim Cook is known for his openness, going out in the cafeteria, having lunch with the staff in general.
Exactly. So, all right. So, in the business talk, of course, we wanted to talk about CEO's lifestyle. We hardly get a chance to talk about it. And this was interesting. So, I figured, why not talk about
Absolutely.
it? Listen, to become successful, you have to sacrifice a lot.
A lot of things.
And when you sacrifice a lot, you become successful. And when you had a company which is worth $1 trillion, many countries in the world don't even worth $1 trillion, right? So here you're running a company. So hats off to Tim Cook. Now, CEOs sometimes make bad decisions and bad judgments, right? So here's an interesting story I want to bring in. Who doesn't know Mark Cuban? Mark Cuban is one of the popular Shark Tanks, right?
Absolutely.
He is a shark. He's a very shrewd businessman. He is a billionaire. He owns Dallas Mavericks, and then he has invested in many businesses. Lately, Mark Cuban is giving a lot of interviews, and he's giving a lot of tips and advices on how to invest it into stock market, how to save money, what to do, and how to find a good company to invest money into it. But then recently with Kevin Hart, this known actor, he said one mistake he made and he regrets it. And that mistake was, AJ, that he was given an offer by Uber CEO. All right, Uber CEO went to him, and that name is Travis Kalanick. So the Uber CEO, Travis Kalanick, went to Mark Cuban with Uber company's valuation, which was $10 million. And he asked Mark Cuban to invest in a $10 million company in Uber. And Mark thought it would be crazy to invest in this company, and the valuation was too high.
Mark Cuban actually thought, or being the shark, he proposed a deal.
Yes.
He proposed a deal at a valuation of $5 million.
Correct.
But when you are a billionaire, when you make so many decisions, then sometimes you take a step back and say, you know what, I could have done that thing differently. I could have invested there, or I could have not invested there. So it's one of those things, looking back for Mark Cuban, that he should have, now knowing the company is billions of dollars worth, that he should have invested in the valuation of $10 million at that time and not negotiated hard and lost the deal in investing into Uber.
There you go. So 10 million at that time, and this the founder went to him. And now guess what? Uber is in over 90 countries and worth how many billions?
It's amazing.
Of course, it's definitely amazing. It's worth $90 billion.
$90 billion.
And when Mark Cuban offered Travis, say, let's have a valuation at 5 million and let's talk about investment. Travis said, okay, I'll get back to you. Mark Cuban never heard back from him.
So the company would have grown 900 times in few years, in less than 9 years,
right,
if you had invested into
right.
Uber at
and
that
then
time.
Mark Cuban said that at $5 million valuation, I'm willing to invest.
Yes.
And this guy didn't take a chance. So Travis Kalanick came out a lot smarter than Mark Cuban. So sometimes, CEOs also make mistakes, and this kind of things do really happen. So, that's really interesting. Anyway, so as we move on to the other story, Vivo. Vivo is a Chinese smartphone company. And Vivo obviously has a strong presence in India also.
Absolutely.
They've been sponsoring many major events,
IPL,
including they have sponsored IPL also.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of Vivo's employees just recently arrested by ED. ED stands for in India Enforcement Directorate. They are the one who really look after the money laundering situation. As you know, many politicians in India under ED radar, and many of them behind bars also. So they have arrested this one of Vivo's executives because of money laundering.
One of the
charges.
senior administrative executive has been arrested by the Indian government, suspecting that they were money laundering.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then even obviously, they are saying it that they haven't done anything wrong there. They are all okay, and then everything should be okay.
I wouldn't be too surprised considering the Indian politics and the situation that we see in India in general with the bribing and everything else that we see. I wouldn't be too surprised that one of the senior executive of an international company helping some of the folks who are connected in laundering the money.
This is, obviously this has been happening. And, now obviously it's a business talk show and we always talk about stocks. But lately, we wanted to bring other stories also than the stocks. But let's talk about Asian stocks. This development, Asian stocks are poised to follow the US lower as Treasury yields soared after the latest inflation data bolstered bets on Federal Reserve rate hikes. Remember in last week's episode, we talked about inflation and how Federal Reserve may go for a rate hike in December. And that has affected Asian stock market.
Absolutely. So the Asian stock market always follows what we see in the US stock market, and US stock market has an opposite relationship with the increase in the interest rate. So we were expecting not to have the rate increase last time around, but it did happen. We know inflation is still very high. In one of the last episodes, we covered the inflation. So we are suspecting that federal government may come back and increase the rate again, which will have an adverse impact on the US market and will result into a similar impact on the Asian stock market as well.
All right, when you talk about Asian stock markets, in the end, let's just touch on a global economy. Russia-Ukraine war started about 20 months ago, all right? And we know what kind of impact it had on the global economy. Everything just got real expensive. And now with this Israel and Hamas war, I'm talking about Israel and Hamas war, remember, all right? It's Israel against Hamas, not Palestine. So Israel and Hamas war. International Monetary Fund, known as IMF, had just a meeting, and they are saying that this war could create a big dent in global economy.
And the worst part could be potentially if other countries get involved. The real fear is Hamas cannot sustain the war against Israel for a long period of time.
Yes.
I mean, we suspected a similar thing with Ukraine as well, that Ukraine wouldn't be able to sustain, but a lot of countries started aiding Ukraine. And then we heard a lot of stories about Ukrainian president not being as honest as we initially thought he was. But if that situation occurs in Hamas, where a lot of other countries start supporting Hamas, that could create a big challenge to the global economy.
Okay, and this is a bit early to say that because war has just started. But hey, listen, in our show, we always try to prepare, we always try to bring stories as it and when it happens. So that is the show for today. I'd like to thank AJ for his time. Thank you so very much. And we'll see you again next week, same place, same time. I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all very peaceful and a quiet days ahead. Do take care of yourself. So long.
Thank you.